Fun is what makes the transitions a lot easier. It's very important to have fun while you're living this thing called life. A little humor, a little joy, a little levity, a little dance. When we're talking about bigger transitions, right? Maybe you've lost a job, maybe something's happened with your health, or maybe you've decided that, hey, it's time to change a big habit. Like maybe it's no longer time to drink alcohol anymore or use other substances. It's a transition. And the thing is, the first time you go through a transition, it can be challenging. And often we think like, oh my gosh, I fucked up. I didn't make it to where I wanted to be. Really, you didn't fuck up. It's just a natural part of transitioning. The happier you are, the more successful you can be. A lot of the things that we've been taught, a lot of the ways we've been living life, totally backwards. Because whether you win or lose, there's always another game, and you get to choose the game. You get to choose the transition. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to be talking about transitions. It's that time of year. Labor Day has just finished where a lot of things are transitioning from the time of summer to the time of fall. These things happen regularly. Sometimes it happens because of the calendar, and then sometimes it happens because life happens or because we decide it's time for something else. And so I'm going to talk about the importance of transitions in life. In some ways, life is all about transitions. Now, a lot of you might not know, but I actually have done yoga teaching. I have 500 hours of yoga teacher training. I taught yoga for about 2 years. Mostly when I worked at Intel, I taught on their on-site gym, and then I also did some teaching for. I did some another fun fact about me. I did Muay Thai kickboxing for about I can't remember if it was one to 2 years, and I taught yoga for Master Jason at his Folsom Martial Arts Center. I think I did. I don't know. I did some. So it was like he'd beat us up, and then I'd unbeat us up. So one of the important things about yoga is it is stretching, yet it's so much more. And one of the important things is that a yogic practice, the asanas, the physical postures, very much is a metaphor for life. Often we think like, oh, it's all about, just doing the pose right. Like when I'm in downward dog, which is where, you get your hands down, your butt up, that it's like, oh, it's about that. Yet as you practice yoga, learn yoga, and this is actually one of the reasons why I don't like to go to most yoga teachers anymore. I actually ended up getting into Bikram yoga about it's been like 2 years. Like if I'm gonna go, I kind of prefer Bikram yoga, which for the longest time I was like, I don't get it. I can't imagine why anybody would want to do that. And I eventually tried it, and what I love about it is it's the same 26 fucking postures every time. And there's the reason I didn't want to do it is I'm like, this is boring. The same 26 postures every time. Like, what's going to be the fun in that, the joy in that? Like, I want variety. I want excitement. What I learned in the sort of that quote unquote boredom is that it's not boring at all. That actually each time, even though the poses are the same, I'm not the same. And not only is that being in each pose different because my body's different, it's also different because I probably got into it differently. The transitions are going to be different. And the transitions is really where the magic is. And a lot of yoga teachers, and don't worry, this isn't just all about yoga. This is about life. So it doesn't matter if you've never done yoga. A lot of yoga teachers, they sometimes say, I'm going to get really creative here, and I'm going to go from downward dog, and I'm going to go into half moon. Yeah, I'm like, do I still even remember my pose names? It's like I'm in podcast mode, not yoga teach mode. And it's like, you can, but how is that transition going to work out? Like, it's like, I love the Chris Rock joke of like, can you drive a car with your feet? Yeah, doesn't mean it's a good idea. And so when just the setup is going to be challenging, the transition is going to be challenging, it's not going to feel good even once you get into the pose. It's going to feel hard while you're going from where you've been. The transition is going to be challenging, and then it's going to be a little bit more unsettling once you get there because you're going to kind of have that stank of this didn't really feel good. this really, and so that's why it's like, I don't want to go. It's like good yoga teachers, they know the importance of transitions. And good yoga students know the importance of transitions as well. And you'll focus as much on how you go from one pose to another, as much as how are you actually when you're in the pose. Because if you just completely collapse to get out of the pose and then just to get into the other pose, that's not elegant, that's not beautiful, and that's also not allowing the body and the mind to experience a beautiful transition. Whereas if you focus on how am I going to get from one transition, one pose to the other pose, even though maybe it's not going to go really well the first time, it's going to get better and better and better. And then it becomes not just an exercise, it becomes an art. And life is kind of like this as well. Like, how do you go from one season to another season? Maybe the first time you're somewhere, because I've grown up in California most of my life, where some people joke we don't even have seasons. And I used to live in Sacramento, where I would say we only had two seasons. We had winter, where it rains a lot, and to me is cold. To those of you that live in the Northeast or places where it actually snows, I get it, not cold. But to me, who grew up in Southern California, fucking cold. And then you had summer, where it's just fucking hot. The first time you go someplace and you're not used to, the multiple seasons, because I grew up in Southern California, where it was just kind of, mild and then warm. It was great. It's the only thing I miss about living in Southern California is the weather and the beaches for actual swimming. Like the beaches here up in Northern California where I live now, spectacular, beautiful. Weather a little bit more rough. Like it's still considered summer, technically, but it's cloudy outside. It's cold. I'm probably gonna go for a walk anyway, just because it's gonna be nice to be outside. The water is fucking cold. The water's fucking cold, no matter what time of year. So it's you gotta wear a wetsuit. And what's important is the first time it's just like you're kind of surprised. You don't know what to do. It's like, oh my, maybe you gotta go buy some clothes, and it's challenging. And you might be wondering, like, Justin, I'm adult. I've gone through seasons. So we're getting to how this fits in with this is how it works. We're talking about getting bigger, bigger, more important, less structured transitions. But you've been through it before, and so you're going to see how you can handle these transitions. Maybe you got to buy clothes. Maybe there's certain preparations you gotta do to get ready for weather that's different, like batten down the hatches, or I don't know. Again, I haven't lived somewhere with extreme weather, or maybe you just gotta start getting excited about the changes. That's where you eventually start going. Like this is fall. This is PSL season, right? Pumpkin spice lattes for those of you that aren't in the Starbucks know. And the only reason I know that is because it's been a thing for years. It's probably old school, old hat now. The only thing I want to add to that is I just think of the DSLs and the PSLs, and I love that. And if you're like, what are the DSLs? It's not digital subscriber line for my nerds out there who are like, yeah, yeah. Yeah, if you want to know what DSLs are, put in the comments and I'll direct message you. This is gonna be fun because this is like one of my old in high schools. We used to come up with terms that were dirty. They were dirty, but they weren't dirty. So you could kind of like write it on paper or you could say it in front of people and they like wouldn't get it. It's like DSL, FTC, what's FTC? So interesting aside. So I don't like to get into politics. So I'm just gonna say that there's a candidate for a large position who's been getting a reputation of having intercourse with a couch. In high school, me and my friends, we had a story about a guy that liked to do this. I don't know if it was this candidate or not. I didn't check the ages or anything like that. But it was basically the story was that this teen, young adult, whatever. This is actually a kind of American Pie before there was American Pie, because basically it was he had his couch and the cushions were at a pretty good angle, and he would found that if he got a bag and filled it with pie filling, microwaved it about 30 seconds. You don't want to get it too hot because you don't want it scalding, because what you're about to do next. I'm not advising anybody do this. I don't even know this was done, but the legend goes that this individual, took the pie filling into the microwave about 30 seconds, make sure it was a good warmth, about body temperature, I would assume, and put that into the cushions of the couch in a way. And then I don't know if there was anything else involved. I don't know if this was a dry exercise, but basically the would then use the couch for self-pleasure. And it was basically it was there's this trend going on. I think it's called like men going their own way. I can't remember what the letters MG, men going their own way, where it's just like, hey, I'm an independent man. I can be on my own. I don't need to sacrifice myself just to be with somebody. And this was a little bit similar to that again, well before this movement, because this was back in the, you know, this is like 1997, somewhere around there, where this legend is when I learned about it. But yeah, the gentleman would fuck the couch. And you don't want to go around school, so yeah, fuck the couch. We just short it to FTC. So there you go. That's a little fun past, a little fun, enjoyable thing. So DSL on the PSL, that season's coming up. And if you're like, oh, Justin, that's just a little bit rude. And now I'm gonna be like, hey, anyone can have DSLs nowadays. Anybody, even you, dear viewer. So why are we having fun? Because fun is what makes the transitions a lot easier. It's very important to have fun while you're living this thing called life. A little humor, a little joy, a little levity, a little dance. Because just as in yoga, if you can make it feel like you're dancing as you go from one pose to the other, even though it might be challenging, it might be straining, it might be different, if you can have that fun, that sense of levity, that sense of joy as you go from one pose to the other, even if you fall in the process, you're like, you made an attempt, you had a good time. And so this is when we're talking about bigger transitions, right? Like going from one way of maybe you've lost a job, maybe something's happened with your health, or maybe you've decided that, hey, it's time to change a big habit. Like maybe it's no longer time to drink alcohol anymore or use other substances. Or maybe it's time to change relationship status, right? Like maybe it's like, okay, this marriage isn't working. Maybe this relationship, this friendship isn't working. All things that I've lost, all things I'm sure many of you have lost. Maybe somebody dies, or maybe it's time to be like, okay, it's enough of this being on my own. Maybe it's time to make some friends. Maybe it's time to meet a romantic person. Maybe it's time to get them DSLs working, right? It's a transition. And the thing is, the first time you go through a transition, it can be challenging because there's always a tendency like the law, like inertia, where it's like where you want to be, usually you want to stay. And so sometimes when you get going, there's going to be that tendency to want to go back. And often we think like, oh my gosh, I fucked up. I fucked up. I didn't make it to where I wanted to be. Really, you didn't fuck up. It's just a natural part of transitioning. Transitioning, there's always a little bit of a wobble, especially the first time. And that's part of you strengthening, part of you getting better, part of you growing as a person. And so when you go back and you recognize that you recognize it and celebrate that. Yeah, yeah. Like the recent episode with Sal, we were talking about how celebration is such an important part of getting through, overcoming burnout. I'm transitioning out of a cold. I thought it would just be like a quick thing. I noticed I was getting a little run down. It wasn't quick. It's been just shy of a week. Was that part of my plan? No. But sometimes, as much as we can plan a transition, we never fully know how it's going to turn out, both in the time and in the way and who's involved. And the more I've gone through more of life's transitions, the more I realize that it really is part of the thing to celebrate. Because when things are just the same, there's really no contrast. There's no experience. There's nothing to really enjoy, right? It's like why do people often enjoy the movies more than just a static picture? So like, this picture's worth 1,000 words, but hey, a moving picture, right? Because it's that seeing the dynamic change, how things go from one to another to another to another, and seeing how that was orchestrated, how that unfolded, and kind of wondering like, yeah, how is it all going to turn out? I think it's going to go this way, but you don't know. It's exciting. If it's curious, it gets your attention. And as we've learned on this show many times before, your attention is the most valuable thing that you have in your possession. You might be like, well, Justin, what about my time and my life? It's actually combined with that because once you don't have your life, you don't have your attention, and when you have you know, no time, it's the time is your ability to place your attention at your will. So when someone takes your time, they're taking your attention is the most valuable thing. That's what I'm going to say. And so give your attention to these transitions and also give yourself love in going through the transitions because they are the parts that you will see. That is where it really, really develops how the quote unquote end state is going to be. Because there really is no end state other than the ultimate end state, which is, not to be a bummer here, but we are getting into fall, which brings us to Halloween. Ooh, and Beetlejuice. I'm not going to say it a third time, is out. It's out. The previews, they're starting. So probably by the time you watch this, you'll be able to go see that movie, that sequel, that doesn't use the numbers, but just uses some clever naming scheme. But yeah, death is the ultimate in-state transition that we're aware of from this state of being. So while we're in this state, this plane, all the other transitions are so important and so beautiful and are meant to be enjoyed because it's really is the journey. Often we think like, well, when I get something, then I can celebrate. When I win the job, when I win the school thing, when I win the relationship, when I win the kid doing this, when I win that is so tiny, so fleeting. It's the getting to, it's the journey, it's the playing the game, enjoying the play for the sake of playing. Playing like the winner is what makes you the winner. Because whether you win or lose, there's always another game, and you get to choose the game. You get to choose the game. You get to choose the transition. So maybe the transition's been put upon you, right? Like no one's like, unless you're John Wick gets to decide, who lives and who dies. But most of us, we don't get to decide who lives and who dies. Maybe you're the one that chose the breakup, but usually you don't go into a relationship going like, oh, I can't wait for this to end, a breakup with this fucker. Yeah, they are gonna be such a. Although I have known some people like, this wedding's good. I think for the next wedding though. Ah. Ah. Yeah, people are interesting, and your life is interesting. And so it really is the transitioning and choosing how you want to work with it. Do you want to see it as something that has been put upon you, or do you want to see it as the opportunity to become even more than you were before? Become even more than you were before. That's really all these transitions get to be, whether it's summer to fall, whether it's child to teen, teen to adult, whether it's in a relationship, out of relationship, whatever it is, you get to choose that it is part of your game of life and you can play it like a winner. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And also, like most games, you don't have to play it alone. You can play it with other people. And I know for me, the more I brought, fantastic people onto my team, the easier even the most challenging transitions have become. And so if you're going through transitions, which please let me know, reach out, send me an email, message me, drop into my DMs, let me know what transition might you be going through. It could just be like, oh, I'm excited to bring out the Halloween decorations, or it might be like, fuck, Justin, I just lost an important relationship, or I'm having a hard time getting a job, or I'm doing a startup and this is hard. It's lonely. I can't share everything with everyone anymore because I'm the one in charge. I'm the head. I'm the boss. I'm the chief operating EO. I'm head. Um, you know, reach out and maybe let's talk, figure something out because it's so much easier to do these transitions with other people. Just like in yoga, amazing yoga classes, often the instructor, or they'll also have sometimes assistants that will sometimes assist you in going from one pose to a next and to help bring your attention to areas where you can more fully expose. Fully expose? I don't know, it depends on the class. I it's so funny because it's like I think I come up with the show topic and I kind of come up with the beats in my head and sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to talk about I'm not going to. My first yoga teacher training, we traveled to San Francisco to go take a class from a really amazing yoga instructor. And it was 90 minutes, which was really, really fucking long, it felt like. And it was so hot and sweaty, but it was probably about like 50 minutes in, we're into the, a 90th sun salutation, which is just a whole lot of, you go downward dog to forward fold and rise up, downward dog, all of this. And I'm in my downward dog and I'm looking back and I see that one of the other yoga teacher trainings in my class, her breast had fallen out of her top, and just like, okay, life is good. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I learned that that's why it's important to be in the middle of a yoga class, because you have the chance of seeing all kinds of things. If you're just in the back, all you get is butts. But if you're in the middle, you can get butts and you can get boobs. And everybody's got everything. So for you ladies, for you men, for your whoever you are, that's why I say, yeah, don't hang out in the back. Move up more, because there's going to be more options. I was on the train, and then I got derailed by a blast from the past. Not expose, although maybe that is that learning to expose yourself is important. Not in a trench coat, bringing it out. No, don't do that. But to let yourself be known, like I'm doing in this. I'm sharing stories that I haven't shared with many people ever. Right? These are some things you're part of my community. We're among friends here, and I'm happy to have you here. And you don't have to be so alone. This is why I do what I do, is because I don't want people to have to feel like, oh, I'm the weirdo. I have these thoughts, or I have these things and nobody else says them, or whatever. You are okay. And even when you're transitioning and it's not going well and you go back, you're still doing okay. You just might need someone to help assist, to guide, to show you like, hey, here's a possibility. And once you get these transitions going, you're going to start to really enjoy them and see them that this really is the practice. It's not the start, it's not the finish. It really is the journey, is the most important, the most amazing part of this experience we call life. This journey, this art, this dance, this creative process. And when you come up from that standpoint, there's no longer like I'm the victim, or I'm the victimizer doing bad things. You can let all that shit go, and you can really just fall into like, I'm creating. I am a creator of this life. And just because I create it doesn't mean that I have to be stuck with it or that I'm going to like it. I can just create again, and I can create again, and I can create again. And each creation, there's going to be a transition. There's going to be some time to see how it all unfolds, that you get to experience it. And so with that, I'd like to know, what transitions are you going through? What are you excited about? What did you really enjoy about the summer? And I'm so glad that you spent some time with me. I'm glad that we got to have this time. Because it's been a while, right? Like the last couple episodes, I've had some phenomenal guests, and it's been really good. But I do miss kind of this just you and me getting together, just getting to have some fun, just talk about life and how it can be more enjoyable, more beneficial, how we can do more. And if you're like, Justin, I don't get how this makes me perform more, ask you, keep watching. You'll see. Because it really is, the happier you are, the more successful you can be. A lot of the things that we've been taught, a lot of the ways we've been living life, totally backwards. You're going to see, you're going to find out. Encourage you to stick around, to follow all that stuff, pay attention to all that. And thank you so much, and good day. Thanks for tuning in to Engineering Emotions and Energy with Justin Wink, Ph.D. Today's episode resonated with you? Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback not only supports the show, but also helps others find us and start their journey of emotional and energetic mastery. You can also help by sharing this podcast with someone you think will love it just as much as you do. Together, we're engineering more amazing lives.